Derby Day, the biggest game of the season. For these clubs it's been 125 years, countless derbies, stars of the biggest calibre gone by. Trophies, internationals, the two oldest clubs in the competition today do battle at this famous old ground, Johnson Park, Wembley. It's not called Wembley for fun. It was nicknamed Wembley in the 1920s when no less than 8 of the Westy Blue Bells players were internationals. You couldn't imagine it, but in 1922, Westy beat a touring Canadian side 3-0. The days of old indeed. The name Johnson Park has an interesting backstory. William G. Johnson marked out the lines on the turf owned by the Caledonian Coal Company. Thus the ground became Johnson's Park. William Johnson was the owner of the Museum Hotel, sponsor of the Blue Bells in the 1890s and still sponsor to this day. The locals here, they support their club. This club, they need no introduction. The Westy Blue Bells, a proud old team with passionate local support for over a century. They've been playing on their patch of turf since the late 1890s. They were founded in the same year as Liverpool, arguably the most famous old club in the world. They're not the best team in the region at the moment, but history tells a different story. 10 major premierships, 1899, 1902, 1904, 1913, back-to-back in 1920 and 21, 1925, 1926, 1946 and 1986. Countless trophies and countless memories. They were originally known as the West Wallsend Wanderers, founded by Scottish miners in 1891. Then came West Wallsend Athletic, and in 1896 they became West Wallsend Blue Bells, the name that they still use today. A club was blossoming, and it became one of the best clubs this side of Sydney. There's too many names to mention, famous old names. How about William Podge Maunder? He played for Westy in the club's best era, the 1920s, and he scored Australia's first international goal at the age of 18. How about Bill Coulahan, Westy Blue Bell, and captain of the Australian national team, Australian Football Hall of Famer. Today, Westy celebrates 125 years of passion, pride, and most importantly, the football. How it could have been different though. They've been on their knees before, twice, 1996 when they were kicked out of the First Division, and more famously 2 years ago when the club's struggle for numbers almost put them into obscurity, and Fox Sports and Mark Bosnich helped them out by showcasing their plight to remain a football club on the Shootout show. Westy went national. This club won't die. This club can't die. This is Newy football in its original and best form. The hard-working people of West Wallsend will never let their club fold. Their opponents and rivals since it all began, the Wallsend Red Devils, one of the most famous old teams in northern New South Wales and one of the most successful clubs in the country during the 30s and 40s, 12 major premierships, countless grand finals, 4 against West Wallsend. Their gripping grand final win last season broke a 50-year drought without a win in the biggest game of the season. Another club that have been at the brink of folding and have never quit. A club that have always stood proud. Founded in 1887 as the Wallsend Rovers, this famous club have been to 78 cup finals, winning 65 of them. They're a year older than Manchester United, the world's most recognisable football team. Fitting that they're both known as the Red Devils. How about the players? They need no introduction. Les Burnett, George Arthur, Alf Quill, and the most famous of them all, Reg Date. Reggie Date was born in Wallsend, played for Wallsend, and is their most famous name. Anyone who pulls on the red and white shirt today should do themselves a favour and Google these names. Reg played for his school, Plattsburgh Primary. He played for the Red Devils, and he not only played for Australia, he was voted into the Team of the Century ahead of Frank Farina. Reg Date played under coach Alf Quill, the greatest goalscorer in the history of the game on these shores, 868 goals in 22 years. It's an Australian record. He played for Australia, he played for Wallsend, and he coached the mighty Red Devils, one of the club's greatest. And how about George Arthur? He holds the club record for most games played, 420 matches in the red and white, 100 goals, Olympian. Like the Blue Bells, Wallsend Red Devils have come close to folding before. The days of their famous old ground, Crystal Palace, now known as Stockland's Wallsend Shopping Centre, are long gone. It took years for the club to claw their way back, and now they're one of the strongest clubs in the league. This is a club that loves its history, and they love beating their rivals. This is like no Derby in Newcastle. These teams have been doing battle for over a century. There was no Broadmeadow Magic, no Hamilton Olympic, and definitely no Newcastle Jets. Rugby league wasn't a sport in this country, and this country didn't even exist as a Commonwealth nation. World War I hadn't taken place. The entire world as you know it today was different. The only thing that stayed the same, these two teams, Westy and Wallsend. Today celebrates 125 years of the greatest derby in the region. It's not about the history though, it's about the future as well. Today young and keen-eyed players will take the field for their first ever Wallsend Derby. Exciting Westy 17s Kai Drayton, Brock Taylor, Mitch Kramer against the Wallsend 17s Jacob Ray, Ben Priest and the Hall brothers Angus and team captain Darcy. It's talent across the park. How about the goalkeepers Josh Snedden and Cameron Jefferson Bill? Two of the best keepers in the 17s grade doing battle right here today. The 19s, on paper the best competition the league has to offer. Talent, technique, potential, it's all there. The Westy 19s, James Barnes, Matt Turner, Josh Knight, and of course the coach, passionate clubman and club secretary Evan Gardner. For Wallsend, a team plagued by injury at the moment but still filled with talent, Jeremy Wan, Joel Blundell, and two excellent goalkeepers in Matt Pennington and Dylan Merrick. On to the 23s, Westy have proud Blue Bells players like Ethan Young and Alex Lowe, as well as exciting newcomer Ryan Van Kemenade. They're desperate for a win. Wallsend though have a quality squad. Kyle Green, Trent Richards, newcomer Jason Zeckel, Chris Wallace's side are one to watch in 2016 and they're one to watch on Derby Day. And of course the feature match, first grade, Westy v Wallsend, celebrating 125 years of Derby football. It simply doesn't get any better than this. The Blue Bells, Michael Bailey, Ty Jones, and the big dog himself, Jared Olivieri, coached by passionate clubman and experienced manager Gary Rowe. Facing the defending champions, Wallsend, big names, Chris Gazzard, Dave Hodgson, Paul Wheeler. They need no introduction. The mighty Red Devils coached by Josh Rufo, one of the most passionate men in the league. He simply loves his team. So that's what it is. It's Derby Day. It doesn't get any better than this. There's no better time to do it than Good Friday. It deserves the attention it will receive. For these two teams, today, nothing else matters. This is Derby football. This is the passion, the energy, and the pure emotion of the world game on show in our backyard. This is two of the oldest, most famous clubs in our region going at it. This is 90 minutes of pure ecstasy. Take a seat, grab a drink, and watch as 125 years of footballing history continues. This is the Wallsend Derby, the original Derby, the biggest and the best. Johnson Park, Wembley. Enjoy your Derby football.